Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing. It is Monday, the 23rd of September. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined this morning by Stevie Clifford. How's it going, Stevie?
Yeah, good, mate. Thanks. Good. Hope everybody is well on this Monday morning, our favourite morning of the week. Something like that.
Well, it's always better when Rangers win, of course. So, yeah, another victory, 2 from 2, and Rangers progressing to the semi-finals of the League Cup, where they'll face Motherwell, and we will be returning to Hampden the weekend of the 2nd and 3rd of November. That match will take place. The other semi, Celtic against Aberdeen, after they came from behind yesterday to defeat Falkirk. But we're going to talk in depth about the big talking points from the weekend. Before we do that, just a bit of admin, folks. I know that many of you like to listen to our shows on Apple and Spotify and the likes. We recently changed podcast provider, and I know that many of you are asking. I've been sent many messages by folks that listen on the old Apple podcasts. Where is it? I'm told if you sort of unfollow us and then follow us again, then it should refresh your feed and the podcast episode should then start to appear on your feed. So if you do listen to us on Apple, just unfollow us and then follow us again, and that should sort that out. Right, Stevie, you were at Ibrox on Saturday. Good to be back.
Yeah, it was great to be back. Really thoroughly enjoyed it. And yeah, it was a good win, good performance, and it was good to progress in the cup. Clean sheet, 3 goals. Yeah, it was pretty decent, Derek. So all in all, it was nice to be back, and it's just another one. I said last week, it's all about kind of building on results and getting a run of form and a run of results together. So that's 2 ticked off, and hopefully the confidence is beginning to return, and they can take that into games coming forward.
The team selection that the manager picked, were you satisfied with that? Would you like to have seen more changes than what he went for? I've seen Tab playing again. Begs the question, when does he... Well, it's clear that the manager doesn't trust the other options available to him, that he continues with James Tavernier, of course, scored a penalty, which was his first of the campaign. Other players in that 11, Dujon Sterling, of course, played the first half. Has looked a little bit off the pace, Stevie. I've seen a few shouts saying to play him in his proper position. But the team for you, did it surprise you, the selection that Philip Clement went for?
It always surprises me, Philip Clement's team selection. I always think they're a bit like previous week, Dowell and Lawrence starting. I would never really have predicted that. And then this week, I wouldn't have predicted Sterling coming into the middle from the cold. Bayrami starting on the left was a real positive, but I didn't see that coming either. And, he likes to do that, doesn't he? A couple of wee changes we hadn't expected. So, yeah, it was... it worked. Obviously, he's going to tell you it worked the last couple of weeks because he's won. He's had 2 clean sheets. So, yeah, it's never quite what I would do. I think that's fair. It's never quite where I would be. But if he was going to make changes in midfield, I would have been tempted to start Raskin and things. But it's just that's more preference for me. He's the one that actually sees it. So, yeah, I mean, it worked, and it was a victory, and it was a clean sheet with 3 goals. So he's going to tell you he did the right thing. You can't really argue with that. So with all that said, he got it right, didn't he? But there was a few raised eyebrows at some. Sterling in midfield, Derek, is the one for me. I think I think it's about time. We've all said he really needs to get a run at right back, but he's not going to get that. I think that's clear. Manager is not going to rest James Tavernier, and he's now in a position where he's had opportunities to do it and he's not done it. So he's clearly not going to do it. So I think we just have to park that one. He's now looked upon, Sterling, most likely as a midfielder, and we just need to wait and see. But he did look a wee bit off the pace slightly. In games like that, when you have to be on the ball and use the ball and stuff, I'm not sure him being in midfield is the best option. I think it's more the games where you need to battle and win and stuff like that he needs to be in there. But in saying that, I didn't think Sterling was overly great in midfield at Parkhead at all. So maybe he's just not quite up to speed yet, Derek. And we'll just need to wait and see a bit before that form kind of returns, because we know how good he can be.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a good player. But he's just the concern for me is he hasn't played in the position that he was brought in to play at Rangers for probably more than 3 or 4. Well, has he played at right back for an entire game? I'm not entirely sure. He has done. So hopefully he just comes out. It's just a little glut in performances, and he will come through it. Thanks, incidentally, for those of you that are commenting that my mic was a bit low. It was coming through my camera mic. Sometimes it does that, so I had to go and change the settings. Let us know, folks. That should now be sounding as clear as day. The manager spoke about Tavernier after the game. He says, you took off James Tavernier. Was his performance pleasing for you? No, it's normal. I think it's normal. He played a good game and he deserves that. And maybe after the Celtic game, we have a few individuals who are crossing a certain line, which is not good, and understand the frustration. But there are a lot of people who understand the value that Tav has had for this squad. That's also good for him to feel that. But that's the life of being a captain in a big club. You're the symbol in the good days, and then it's nice, like today, and in the difficult days, you're also the one everybody looks at. But that's life of being a captain or a manager in that kind of club. You need to embrace that also, and he did. Last couple of weeks, he worked hard. He wanted to dig in to come back strong, and he helped all the young lads in their integration also, because he has an important job in that also. Cyril Dessers will take the headlines. Stevie, another 2 goals for him. I think is it 7 and 9 games for Cyril? Correct me if I am wrong. Took his goals well. The first one, of course, unfortunate when the ball was cut back by Rami in the first half. Save, but then Tavernier's sort of shot across the face turned in by Dessers. The second goal was an absolute peach. Struck it first time in the second half. Goalkeeper, no chance. And he was speaking afterwards about Hamza Igamane coming in. I'll play you that clip shortly. But Cyril Dessers, for you, what do you make of his performance on Saturday, Stevie?
Yeah, it was fine. It was fine. 2 good finishes. Frustrating at other points. Seems to have got a really bad habit now, Cyril, of when anyone goes near him, he's claiming a foul and all sorts, which is a wee bit frustrating. He obviously won the penalty. He should have had a penalty in the first half. I thought that was quite funny. You couldn't have made it any clearer that the boy wrestled him to the ground. And the referee and VAR obviously thought that was okay. And then the second half, they gave one that wasn't as bad as the one that they didn't give in the first half. So make it make sense a wee bit, I think. But Cyril was involved in everything, wasn't he? Speaks really well, presents really well. Will score goals in these kind of games. It's just, when he has a game like the other week, like he did at Parkhead, then people will just say there's no use doing it in a game like this when he can't do it in other games. And I think that's always going to be labelled at Cyril, and not only Cyril, but any Rangers striker. Chris Boyd had it for a number of years. So, and look at how phenomenal Chris Boyd was. But, Dessers was fine. Scored 2 good goals, 2 good finishes. Second one especially really, really good. He also had another one where he kind of dribbled past his man in the first half, and the boy saved it with his feet, Trevor Carson. So I think that he done fine. He seems to be getting shots off a wee bit quicker, Derek, which is better and more kind of pleasing on the eye. So he is what he is. I think he done fine at the weekend.
I like how you mentioned Chris Boyd there. I was thinking that this morning. 22 goals last season. He's hit a good vein of form this season. Remember when Boyd was at the club, he bagged numerous goals, record-breaking goals, and but he wasn't really fancied in the big games, Stevie. You couldn't really hang your hat on him in those huge matches, which often you found Walter playing, perhaps Kenny Miller up top in the European games, Old Firm matches and what have you. Is Cyril Dessers on modern day Chris Boyd, you reckon?
I don't think Cyril Dessers and Chris Boyd should be mentioned in the same sentence, to be quite honest, like that. But Big Boyd will be on the phone this morning. I think that they're completely different players. I think the thing with Boydie when he played was Kenny Miller was so good at leading the line. And, the way that we set up under Walter to grab goals, and you had Naismith kind of bombing about behind him and stuff like that it made sense to do that from Kenny Miller and Chris Boyd kind of view. Cyril Dessers is kind of playing by default at the moment, where there's literally nobody else, and he's doing fine. He's scoring goals. He's carrying. He's leading the line. But Cyril Dessers will do fine against 80% of the opposition in this league. So, as somebody that was brought in who wasn't first choice, if Cyril Dessers cost £2 million and got 15 grand less a week, we would all worship him and think he was terrific. But it's the fact that we paid so much and the outlay is so much for him that you're just looking for him to really, when it's really, really counts, when he's one-on-one at Parkhead, when he's got those opportunities to put them away, that's what we want. And the long and short of it is, you're not going to convince people on Cyril Dessers until he has those moments. And it's the Celtic games which everyone will point to. It's the biggest games in the league which everyone will point to. So until he has that, we'll continue to have these arguments. And after games like this, we'll persuade ourselves that, he's doing great and he's the answer. And, he's this, he's that. He's just the same Cyril Dessers as was last season, was the year before, was last season. And was the games before, etc. is what I'm trying to say. So, it is what it is. We're going to have this. He'll score goals for us this season. He will. He'll probably get 20 odd again.
Oh, easy. He's well on the way, Stevie.
Yeah, he is. He's well on the way to it. But the fact remains, Derek, we've seen 30 minutes of Igamane at Tannadice, and every single one of us said he held up the ball, showed strength, chased, harried, showed pace that we hadn't seen. And that was an overall opinion. So if we're saying that on 30 minutes of the youngster, then I think that's what shows you about Dessers being Dessers, basically.
Yeah. Lots of comments come in on Dessers, valid ones as well. Stevie says, I don't set up in a way to accommodate Dessers' style. I think games like Saturday, I think it's fine when you're going to dominate the ball and there's going to be plenty of chances laid on a plate for Big Cyril. But matches like Thursday night, you do wonder if there are other options available. But we'll soon find out. Denzel, a pressing point here, Stevie, aimed at your good self. Is Stevie in a tiny room? I think he's moved in your loft, haven't you? The window's but in front of you now, as opposed to sitting over there in the corner.
Joshua told me to move. That's all I'm going to say about it. Joshua said I have to move because the lighting in the room wasn't good. So you can blame him and take hard to do it. This room's actually massive, but this is just the way I have to be positioned to get internet and everything else. So
So there you go. That answers your question. John McKean says, it looks like Stevie is the giant top of the beanstalk. So there you go.
Honest to God. Just criticism all the time, Derek. You know what I mean?
Brilliant fairy tale, incidentally. Big fan of Jack and the Beanstalk. But let's move on to other matters. Stevie, is a referee. This sort of something I want to bring up. DJ Sooth says, I still don't understand why VAR doesn't review certain passages of play, i.e. the Dessers penalty claim in the first half. As a referee, Stevie, were you scratching your head with that one?
Just to be clear, Derek, I am no longer a referee. Chucked it a couple of years ago. So I'm extremely glad that I did that because I don't miss it in the slightest.
Well, the game's a poorer place without you, Stevie.
That's not what anybody said that refereed me. Am I surprised? Yes. Am I really surprised? No. Does that make sense? Because for me, it's definitely worth looking at. It's definitely worth, reviewing. But they didn't. So it's one of those ones. But I think this goes back to, I don't think Dessers makes it overly easy on himself.
Yeah.
Because he is. And I don't want to get this into criticism because I'm coming across like I don't like him. And I'm not convinced. But the problem with Cyril Dessers is just what I've always said. And that is, see, until he does it at the very, very top games, and he scores goals that really make the difference, then people are just going to go the same as what I've said. And when it comes to a game like Saturday, he scored goals, but he frustrates me because every time it went near him on Saturday, he wasn't holding it up. He was claiming for fouls. He was moaning about people touching him. I just want, for such a big guy, and he is a big guy, I want to see him bullying and controlling and being a wee bit more aggressive in that. So I still have my reservations, put it like that. And that's not to say that I think that Danilo or Igamane or anything at this point are better. or better options. I just think at this minute, he's still got a wee bit to go before he convinces me. And as for the fouls, Derek, as for the penalty review, I think it should have been looked at, definitely.
Yeah. Dessers was asked, how do you see the competition from Hamza Igamane? And this is what the big man had to say.
I think at a big club like Rangers, there will always be competition. I think that's good because we play 65 games in a season. Probably I will not play 65 games 90 minutes. So I think it's really good that Hamza and Danny are here, and I'm sure we will need them and that they will be ready at that moment. You can see Hamza. He has something. I can see it as well in the training. When he comes in, he has something, and I'm happy with that. And I'm supporting him. He's supporting me. We're helping each other because we know, like you say, in the long season, like you have at Rangers, and you want to do well in the 2 cups, in the league, in Europe. Yeah, you cannot do it alone as a striker. We will need all of our strikers this season, and hopefully, we can score a lot of goals, all of us.
He has something, Stevie. That's from Cyril Dessers. What do you make of him? He came off the bench again, Hamza Igamane. I wanted to see him start, like many others. I'm sure. Well, you said, I mean, he's not fit enough at this moment in time, but he's gradually integrating himself into the team. But what do you make of Hamza's performance?
I didn't see it, Derek.
Oh, you nipped away, didn't you? I watched that. I actually watched your wee piece. You did the game. You had to Subway loyal, was it?
I left upon Cyril scoring the 3rd goal at 70 minutes. I had a prior appointment to go to, and I was hosting a night in Fallon in Stirling.
Oh,
so
yes.
I had to nip away. Being the ultimate professional that I was, the message given to Philippe was get 3-0 as soon as possible. And so by all accounts, he was kind of involved a wee bit, wasn't he? Got the report back, he had the shot just wide and things like that. But, I've said for a wee while that he has been impressing. And we were talking about this and we had seen, little cameos. I think we could tell immediately, even from 10 minutes at Parkhead, this boy has got a wee bit about himself.
Mm-hmm.
And we were grasping at straws a wee bit and what was a fairly dismal day. And then at Tannadice, he had a really good cameo for 30 minutes. So he just needs to keep building on that, and he just needs to get there. And he's a young lad, and he'll take his time, and there's plenty of hype surrounding him. So, I think this is going to be one of these ones, Derek, where we'll be talking about him, and then out of nowhere he'll start again, and then it will go from there. And I think that's what I've kind of got. St Johnstone earmarked for him in my mind. That one in a couple of weekends, I think it kicks off about midnight or something like that on the Sunday, and that's the kind of one I've got him earmarked on to start on the Sunday night. So we've got Malmo and Hibs before we get to that point, and you'll see game time in both of these as well. So I looking forward to seeing more of them. That's for sure, Derek.
Yeah, you and me both. Let's talk about Jefte, the manager. He impressed again at the weekend. The manager was quizzed on him in the press conference. He says he was asked, is he the profile of player you want to bring in? Yeah, of course. We wanted him already in January. He wanted to come, but at the moment it was stopped by his team. But we stayed in touch all these months, and he showed a real desire to come and to fight for that. Of course, I said so many times already, it was the end of a cycle. We had a lot of players in the squad who were over their best period. We had 7 players going out the building for free or could go out for free. There were some we wanted to keep, but they could earn much more money elsewhere. So they made that choice. So it was a hard way to start the rebuild, and it just started that way. We could not do everything in one window, but it's good now that people start to see the young, talented players who came in, that they have the quality now or the future for sure to become important players. And I understand that in the beginning there was some skepticism about that, but because players coming in who never played at this level. So the fans want to see that. But if I learned one thing about this club, is that the fans really know really well what quality is, and they desire quality. Absolutely, Philippe. So we've been looking for that in the pool with the money we had, what was not much compared to other teams, to find real quality for the short term, but also for the longer term. Now, Malmo on the horizon. Scott says Jefte will be a huge miss against Malmo. No question about it, Stevie. Still raging over that Sending off against Kyiv, absolutely scandalous. Missing for the game on Thursday night. First of all, what do you make of his performance? How encouraged are you by what you've seen so far from him?
Yeah, I am. I think we talked about it on Friday, didn't I? And I said that I was looking forward to seeing more of him.
Yeah.
And he impressed again. I think he's a really strong runner. I think he's really powerful. And he's really aggressive when he goes forward as well. And I don't mean that physically. I mean in his running style. He's always bombing forward, which we like. And it's kind of what we got from Borna at the very, very start before he was, how do I word this? Before he became a wee bit more reserved. Borna was really...
I seen a clip last week, Stevie, the game, mind the Villarreal game, the 2-2 game when Lafferty scored and Borna's bombing up there. Clyde Middleton played him in, and you're like, wow, what happened?
Yeah, but that's what Borna was like at the very start as well, and then he became, sensitized and just became frightened to go past the halfway line. And I think Jefte's bringing that side of it again. I think Redvan's in for a real fight to try and get back in that team, but there's options. Could you put Jefte further forward as well? But at the moment, considering we picked him up for relatively low price and stuff like that, I think he's a real cracking signing. And all credit to Niels Koppen and the scouting team, because when you look at it, Jefte, Igamane, Barron, Cortez, Diamande, there's young legs in there. There's exciting. And yes, look, I'm not saying all of them are world beaters. I'm not saying all of them are fantastic. I'm not saying all of them are playing brilliantly. I think Diamande's been a bit hit and a miss. I think, there's going to be times where Barron will dip and Jefte will dip and Igamane's still getting there and thereabouts. Cortez is getting up to speed. But the point is, Derek, there's actually young talent in there. And everybody spoke last year about changing the philosophies and changing the kind of outlook of who we were signing and what we were doing and to have a proper kind of scouting plan. There's 5 reasons in there that to say that we've kind of recruited well. And by the way, Bayrami on Saturday looked fairly decent for a guy that's still to come up to speed. And he can run, by the way. He's quicker than I thought he was. So there's another option that I didn't think. I thought he was kind of like as a 10. I thought he would be more static and more kind of, but he's not. There was one where he kind of chased it right up the left-hand side and passed his marker, and I thought, right, that boy can actually go. So, dare I say it, Derek, and I'm guarded, and you'll get a lot more tougher games in the last couple of weeks. But, there is positivity to be had. And they've got to prove it. They've got to play in the bigger games. And, Jefte has got to perform. But after what was a fairly ropey pre-season, and we all wondered, we thought this boy can go forward. He's actually been fairly solid and he's been really impressive. Strong in the air, strong in the tackle. I like the fact that he just clears it. I spoke about it in my article last week about Jefte when I was talking about him, that he doesn't mess about with it, which I like. It seems so simplistic as well, but a defender just defending, Derek. Just, you know what I mean? And really impressive. So, again, you go into a game, obviously he's not playing on Thursday, but you go into the game next week against Hibs, and he's one of the ones you're looking for. He's one of the ones you're excited about seeing. So, yeah, I'm definitely want to see more of him. And he looks to me like an exciting proposition.
Yeah. The game's on Thursday, Stevie. Red fan, we know he's training individually. I doubt he'll be ready to come straight back in. Robbie Fraser would be the one that would stand out for me. It's a huge game to chuck him into. Anyone else to replace Jefte over on the left-hand side? Dujon?
Yeah, it's either Robbie or Dujon, isn't it? And, Dujon will never let you down, I don't think, but hasn't been in the best form. Robbie, it's a huge game to chuck him in, but if you're signing these boys on new contracts, what's the point if you're not going to trust them and throw him in when he gets the opportunity? So I trust Robbie. I think he's a good young player. Whether or not he's ready for this kind of level is a question that the manager will need to ask Derek. But it is. I think it's between them, isn't it? I don't really see anybody else coming in. I don't really see anybody else playing out there. So yeah, it would be him for me at left back between Fraser and Sterling. Do you know what, as well? As much as this might be a risk, I'd go Robbie Fraser purely because if you're signing left backs for left back and we're renewing, what's the point in keeping this boy if he's not going to get the opportunity? Play him, Derek. Play him and see where it goes and see how he can perform. If he comes through that on Saturday, then there's another option. All of a sudden Jefte and Robbie Fraser are in there, and there's interest in Ridvan, and it might be an avenue to go and explore in the future. But I'd play him definitely. Dujon Sterling can come in, but I'd start Robbie Fraser.
Yep. Triple 1872 says, can Nana play left back? He has played there before, but I'd like to say, I've championed Robbie Fraser for a start for many weeks now. Listen, he's a left back. Play him. If he's good enough to be given that new contract recently, then he surely is good enough to feature for Rangers. And play him. Mentioned the Barame, Stevie. I know you touched that he did impress over on the left-hand side. Still want to see him at the number 10 role, do we not?
Yeah, we do. I think we do. Tom Lawrence has been okay, though, isn't he, the last couple of games? Not a world beater, Tom, but he's okay, and he'll play part of the squad. And I think eventually, once Cortez gets up to speed, Bayrami will move in and Cortez will play left. But it's just, it allows these players to get time and stuff like that, doesn't he? But I enjoyed his performance, Derek. And I think that you'll see a lot more from him. And I'm how would I put this? I am enthusiastic about what I've seen early doors from him. He's not pulling up any trees. He's not, being outstanding. But there's enough there to say that this boy's going to be a decent player for us. As I said, I'm enthusiastic about what I see from him. Good turn of pace, likes a shot, which I like. I'd like it if he shot a wee bit better, but he likes a shot, and he looks like he's got a wee bit of talent to him. So yeah, he'll £4 million. There's a wee bit of pressure on him to succeed because that's a lot of money for us. But hopefully he can deliver. And I'm not going to put my neck on the line and say, I'm fairly confident in it, because I have done that before and they've turned out to be a wee bit rubbish. So it's probably best I don't. But I'll just say I'm enthusiastic. He looks okay, doesn't he?
Yeah, there's a player in there, there's no doubt about it. We'll wrap. There's a couple of points coming in. Of course, we touched on Malmo. A few people saying they're in good form. They are. They won 4-0 yesterday against Häcken, and they lead the way in the Swedish Allsvenskan by 11 points after they've played 24 matches. Djurgårdens have got a game in hand, but looks like they're going to go on and win the Swedish title. So going to be a tough test on Thursday, Stevie. I know we touched on the sort of the Europa League. You weren't looking forward to it much when we spoke last week. Don't have a great record over there in Malmo either. Take a draw right now. I'll bite your hand off for
it. Hi.
Can you get a win over there?
You never know, Derek. I don't think we're favourites. I don't think many would tip us for a victory, but I wouldn't rule it out. I never rule out, when it comes to Rangers. But now you just need to go over there and keep building on what they've done the last couple of games, and be interested to see what selection he goes with. We've now got plenty of options that can hurt teams going forward. Cortez, Bayrami, Czerny, Dessers is scoring. So, as Stephen points out, we have won in Betis, but we've also weirdly kind of turned up in European games, and we'll just need to wait and see, Derek. I would say they're favourites, and I would think they would come and have a wee go, but it's Malmo. It's not the hardest game we're going to get in the group, and I'm not saying we should go out there and win, but we shouldn't be going out there fearing it. We should be going out there, intent on having a wee go and seeing what we can do. Would I take a point? Yeah, I suppose I would, but I'm going out there with the mindset that I'm looking for more of that.
Yep, I can't wait. Actually, I'm going out to the game. I'll be in the away end for the first time in a long time. So cannot wait for the game. Heading out there on Thursday. So hopefully see a few of the Bears over there. And we'll wrap up with this. Not entirely Rangers related, but Maka with a point here. Stevie says, any thoughts on Stephen Naismith's sacking? Hearts finally pulled the trigger yesterday. I think quite rightly after 8 matches, 8 defeats in 8. they have started horrifically this season. So I think the Hearts fans in the main are pleased with that. It'll be interesting to see who they get to replace Stephen Naismith. But you can't go 8 games and lose them all, Stevie.
I care as much about Stephen Naismith as he did about Rangers when he sat in that press conference, Derek. And that's all I'll say about Stephen Naismith.
So there you go, Macca. There's Stevie's insight on that news. So St Johnstone and Hearts, of course, changing their manager already this season. Right, that'll do us there. Big thanks to Stevie as ever, and a big thank you to each and every one of you for interacting with the show. Just a heads up, I will be speaking to a Malmo journalist this morning. We will be going live on the Rangers Review Extra channel. So join us for that. Jonas Hansen will be speaking about Rangers Europa League opponents. So that'll be recorded around about 12 midday, folks. So hopefully you can join us on there. If I don't speak to you, enjoy your Monday, and I'll speak to you later on. Bye for now.